This week on the High Limit Room, Cometic Gasket Crew Chief of the Month Award winner Stevie Smith joins the show. We recap the races at Vado and Route 66, and we nominate our 5-star bodies moves of the month. Let's get into it. Before we get to Stevie Smith and the rest of the show, we wanted to say a quick shout out to some of the winners over the weekend in sprint car racing. Brad Sweet has now swept the first 2 NARC shows. He got the win at the Thunderbolt Raceway in Tulare, California. Another win in the W car with Paul Silva and Kevin Kozlowski for the Big Cat. Buddy Kofoid, an exciting finish at 81 Speedway on the last quarter to pass Ryan Timms for the World of Outlaws win. The night before that, it was Carson Macedo getting his second win of the year, I believe it was, at the US 36 Raceway in Osborne, Missouri. Also, another sprint car winner this weekend was Troy Wagaman Jr. He got his first win of 2026 at the Baffs Motor Speedway in Pennsylvania. And then upcoming this weekend, there will be no High Limit. There will be no World of Outlaws. Everybody taking the weekend off for Easter Sunday. But we do know the Power I-410 Series will be in action, and there will be some racing locally in Pennsylvania and over in Ohio as well. So make sure to stay tuned into FloRacing for some of those races. Now, before we get into our interview with Stevie Smith, I want to say thank you to our partners at Eclipse Insurance Claims, eclipsing insurance tactics and protecting your payout. Let's now go over to the interview with Cometic Gasket Crew Chief of the Month, the Hall of Famer, Stevie Smith. All right, this week on the High Limit Room, we are now joined by the now 2-time Cometic Gasket Crew Chief of the Month winner, Stevie Smith. And Stevie, you join Eric Prutzman, Ricky Warner, and Jake Argo as a 2-time winner of this award. And of course, with that award comes a $500 prize. So my first question for you, $500, I mean, what are you going to spend that on? I mean, I was told that you cannot stay up past 8 p.m. without getting a couple of coffees. Is that what you're going to save it up for, some coffee after the race is coming up?
Well, it's not quite that bad, but it's heading in that direction. Probably going to use that money to put gas into the golf cart for the dogs. So that's my plan. But it's a great honor. I didn't know that you're filming me with some new news here. I wasn't aware of this, but to be considered a crew chief like Kreutzmann and Ricky Warner, that's an honor. So I'm very proud of this. Thank you.
I've heard a lot about these golf cart trips with the dogs, Stevie, and I'm glad to hear that's where the money is going, somewhere responsible, somewhere wholesome. Tell us about these golf cart trips with the dogs. That's what really I think is important in this conversation today.
Well, after a long day at the shop, I don't have a lot of hobbies because this business kind of takes all my hobbies. So every day around, I start pretty early in the morning, so sometimes I'm in the shop by 5:30 or 6. So come 4 o'clock each day, I'm worn out, and the dogs look bored. So we load them up, and off to the country we go. So there's lots of back roads out here where we live. We kind of live outside of town, and I've just made it. It gives me a minute to think. I don't do a lot of talking unless Tanner needs something from the racetrack. And it's not really business time. It gives me time to think, and boy, do they enjoy it. So it's just something we all look forward to. When I say all, me and the dogs, and we really like our animals, and we just give them it's kind of our hobby, basically.
Well, I meant to say this earlier, but from what we've been told, what we've heard over some different from some different media personalities, you're a tough guy to get an interview with, and here we are. I mean, we interviewed you twice now, once at Vegas and now once here on the High Limit Room. So I'm not really sure what that's supposed to mean, but hey, we'll take the time when you give it to us. Stevie, you were out in Las Vegas, got off to a really hot start with Tanner Thorson, and now things are even better. You guys got a pretty good point lead. I say you guys because I wanted to hear from you. Do you feel like you are part of this team? Do you feel like you are a crew member of this team, even though you're not at the racetrack every race, of course? But when Tanner runs well, when Tanner wins, Do you feel that sense of accomplishment, or are you just kind of back in, Oklahoma or whatever? It's like, all right, yeah, oh, they won. All right, we'll see you guys at the next one.
Okay, so yeah, let me answer. There's a couple questions here. So yes, getting me on to do interviews is difficult because I'm kind of like I said, I'm a busy person, but it's okay. But if you need me to do something, you guys found my weak spot, and Tanner found it too. You go through my daughter. She has a way of working. Dad, can you do this interview? And I'm thinking, I don't really have time right now, but Dad, can you do this interview? It's like, okay, I've always had a difficult time telling her no. So she said, Dad, can you come to Vegas? Can you come to Vegas? I said, well, probably not. And then I told her, I don't think I'm going to make it. And she says, well, you always told me if you tell somebody you're going to do something, you got to do it. So off to Vegas I went. But I will say, I did enjoy that. Yes, it was very nice. And, yes, I feel a sense of accomplishment, and I do feel like we're part of this team in many ways. I find myself, I don't even know if I've told Tanner this, but I find myself thinking about this car and trying to go back from my driving days to see if any of this relates, or and trying to. So yes, it's taken some of my time, and but I had mentioned a couple other times that he does a lot of it. So I'm just kind of a small part, but I am involved.
I mean, there's so many directions we could go with you and you sitting down and talk with us, which definitely we want to say thank you for. We appreciate that. When I texted Shaylee, I wasn't sure, what your schedule looked like. I understand you were sitting there at your computer ready to go yesterday on Sunday. You were so excited to talk to Chase and I. You were there 24 hours early, so thanks for that.
Yeah. She was one day off. Yeah. You're welcome.
I got panicked. I went back and looked at my text, and I knew that I sent her the right date. But man, we talked about it a little bit, you and I, in the pits at Vegas, and if you can, just expand on it a little bit, if you're willing to, or if you can say any more than you did to me at Vegas. What's the challenge? What's it like? I don't know how hard it must be. Is it hard to crew chief and lend advice to Tanner Thorson and that team from the comfort of your home when all you are seeing visually is what the Flow broadcast cameras show you? And it's not like you're sitting there watching every lap of Tanner go around the track except for qualifying. They don't keep a camera on just Thorson the whole race. Maybe we should. But what is that challenge like to be expected to help provide some insight technically when you're only watching it through a screen this big?
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. It's something new for me too. I didn't really, when this all started, I wasn't planning on getting back involved. I wanted to be a part of this, but like I said, it needed me. And, so here I am, here we go. I'm enjoying it. But it is different. And you're right. They do not have the camera on just Tanner, but I can watch the other cars. I can watch the racetrack. I could almost feel some of the stuff that the car's doing. I drove these coil cars and many other type cars for a lot of races and a lot of different racetracks. So I kind of have a pretty good understanding. Sometimes I won't agree with him. I'll go a different direction, and sometimes I'm wrong. So it's all new to me too. I've never been a mechanic. I always tried to be a driver. So, but it's funny you say that. I do only get to watch the car a little bit some nights, because if he's not up in the front, obviously the camera's trying to cover the racing and the leaders and, normal stuff, but your coverage is really good. So I seem to be able to, watch the track, almost feel the car, even though I've never sat in it, but, and I think about it, and Tanner's feedback's pretty good. He's a good racer. He's raced a lot of different kind of cars, and so every night, I don't know if I do him a lot of good, but some nights it seemed to just keep his head straight and try to adjust things and make small differences, which can add up to be big differences.
I'd say things have gone pretty well so far. Of course, 2 wins, leading the points. I wanted to just kind of get maybe how does this work on a nightly basis? We don't need to get too far into it, but I mean, you're watching on Flo. He comes off the track for hot laps. He goes out there for qualifying. If you're watching on Flo and you're like, okay, Tanner just got off the track for qualifying, do you pick up the phone and you're sitting here, all right, ready to hit the answer button, or like, how's that working? Like, I mean, is it every time he comes off the track he's calling you, or is that a little bit, maybe a little extreme?
No, that's about, you're hitting the nail right in the center of the head. But so basically what we have 2 different setups. And I don't know if Tanner really tells anybody this, but I just tell everybody the truth. I just tell them so we have 2 different setups. One uses a lot of stagger, meaning the right rear is much bigger than the left rear. Okay, and I think we're one of the only cars in the country that run this tire a lot. It's called a 92-inch tire, so it's a pretty small left rear. So we have a setup designed to run that tire that we kind of went back on my notes, and we've adjusted things according to that. Tanner actually found my notes from the old Coil car a couple winters ago, and I don't even know how he even found them or where he got them from, or somebody sent them to him or something. But anyway, so we have that setup, which we like to start with a lot of nights, or we like to change to it. And then we have another setup that uses no rollout. So we really had nothing in between. That's what's peculiar with this car and the way Tanner drives. So the second setup is no stagger, meaning the 96 tire. I think that's the biggest tire they make. So I think we have one for the largest left rear tire and one for the smallest left rear tire. We have nothing in between. So it kind of seems strange. And we can't seem to mix these 2 setups. They have different shocks and different springs on these 2 setups and different chassis heights. And it's just, one's old school, one's new school. And when I say new school, they all want to run around here with no stagger. Okay? Because what I'm taking from it is they want the car more square. It goes down the straightaway faster. And it's just, the tire has more spring rate on the left rear, and we can talk chassis stuff and you might not understand it, but that's the new school way. But the funny part is we put the old school way on, and we can actually set more fast times and actually on some tracks be way faster with the stagger, and even on a larger track. We did it last year. We did it last year at Lakeside. Tanner kept saying, I can't time in here. I'm struggling here. I said, let's run the old school setup. We roll out there with 15 inches of stagger. He sets 4th quick times, as fastest lap he's ever made it at that track. So we've kind of defied that all this big left rear stuff is not really necessary, but it is the new school way of mechanicking the car. So we have both. And he calls me from each track, each night, and says, I think this track reminds me like we ought to start with this setup. This track reminds me we ought to start with that setup. And I say, okay, I'm fine with it. We can work with either setup. We can adjust either one. I'm fine with it. If you think this one's better, then let's go with this one. So meanwhile, I'm watching the track, and if I'm not back from my golf cart, for this year, I have a cell phone holder. So I might have to watch hot laps from the golf cart till I get back. So, we're not taking away from one for the other. We're going to try to work this all together. Okay. So we got a full-time business. We've got dogs. I've got a wife, and I've got a part-time race car job. That's my 4 main things in life right now. So, but anyway, yes, he has to call me. From the track, we make that decision, which setup we're going with. We have, like I said, 2 completely different ones, and then we adjust it from there. And that's just how we've been doing it, and it seems to be working. So,
well, so Stevie, I mean, I think you're in a very unique position to answer this question, and I want you to pretend like Tanner Thorson's not going to ever hear this or watch this, which, knowing Tanner, he's probably not going to. I don't think he sits down and watches a whole lot of podcasts, right? He's not wasting his time watching Chase and I talk. Since you're on, he might. But yeah, I think you're going to answer this pretty objectively, I hope. You've been a race car driver, a very successful one. Now you're a crew chief by proxy, from your phone all the way across the country. It sounds to me that Tanner is using you, and I mean this as respectfully as possible. It sounds like to me Tanner's using you as a bit of a like a mental failsafe. Like, it sounds like he knows what he wants to do to the race car. He's a really smart guy. Keith Coons described him once as a mechanical engineer without a degree. It sounds like to me you're the sounding board that Tanner just needs to get like the yes or the no from, and then he's going to go ahead with what he probably thinks is best anyway. Do you think that you're adding to his just mental clarity to go out there and do his job, and he knows, oh, Stevie's cool with it, Stevie's on board, so it must be the right decision? I guess what I'm saying is, do you think what you really bring to the table for Tanner is just a level of like, whew, all right, let's do it?
Yeah, it's possible. I think he does need a little confidence booster, and he's put out there. He put himself out there with some younger crew, which and those guys do a great job that help him, but he doesn't really have like a crew chief to rely on. Lee helps him when he's on the West Coast, and then I think Lee also talks to him some nights at the track too. And so he probably does need that mentor figure, like you're saying, because he's kind of out there on his own and he has a different car. But I think he relies on me because this thing has 4 coils on it, and I've driven one, and I've been pretty successful with one. But so yeah, I think he's relying on me as a mentor, but he does have his own ideas. He works hard at it. He makes some good decisions. And sometimes if something doesn't make sense, I just step in and say, look, I think you don't need to do all this changing, blah, blah, blah. I don't really think. He tells me that the car's tight here or tight there. And I'm saying, well, like little examples, well, it wasn't tight yesterday and the track's slower today, so no, you're not tight, you're just loose. Stuff like that. And I think we get him going in the right direction, and he takes it from there. So I think it's just the words of wisdom is what he's looking for, a mentor, like you said.
Well, Stevie, we've heard a lot of people, I mentioned the media personalities that talk about sprint car racing across all various channels, whether that's on YouTube or Facebook or whatever it is. A lot of people know that Tanner Thorson and that car are fast on the smaller racetracks. We saw it last year. We saw the incredible consistency. I want to say like 15 top 10s in a row during points-paying events. One track that a lot of people are questioning and maybe aren't quite sold on this year with this team is Port Royal. 8 races there this year. If Tanner wants to contend for this championship and continue to run up front in the points like he is right now, that is going to need to be a track where things get better at. That's probably the one, I guess the thorn in his side or whatever you want to say. You yourself have been very, very successful at Port Royal. 10 plus wins, winning in the 77, I can't remember his last name, the Al 77, I don't remember his last name, but the Zemco car, the Raymer car, you've won in the 19 car there as well. So with all that being said, with the new motors, with how you guys have been running this year, do you think that the results will improve and Tanner will be much better this year when it comes to Port Royal and those 8 races we have?
Well, Chase, you're touching on a good point here. That is a darn good question. Yes, that is our goal. So I feel like we've improved the car. We fine-tuned these what we call our 2 setups. And I'm hoping when we get back to Port Royal this time that we can get him closer and he can feel more comfortable. I've seen some positive leaving Vegas. I feel like that's a bigger track. It's definitely different than Port Royal. But I've seen some positive things we've done to the car at Vegas, where we went from a top 5 car to a top 2 car, making that just a couple small adjustments. So I'm hoping that we can maybe apply what we've learned there. There again, I can kind of picture and feel Port Royal as we're speaking here. So I'm hoping we can relay some of this to there and once we get him comfortable, the big track problems that he's had or that they say he has, they're going to be gone. Because when that car, one thing I've learned, when you're not confident in the car, and it's hard to race it hard because it's not giving you a good feeling. Okay, so there are racers that race cars hard, that aren't going around the track well, and they usually end up on the tow truck. But there's a lot of guys that you give them the confidence, you give them the feel, and they're going to go. And I feel like that we're going to be closer, and I hope that we can do better at Port Royal this year. And like you said, there's a lot of races there, and but we don't. We're going to focus on how to get better there, and I've already been thinking about it. And it's funny that it sounds like you guys are already talking about it, and we know that's been a weak spot for him. But I feel like I'm going to think positive here. I think we're going to be. I'm hoping we're going to look a lot better when we get there this time.
Positive thinking. That's what we're all about here at Interstate Batteries High Limit Racing. Chase always tries to coach me up on that. Stevie, I was asked to be on the Drivers Project, another popular show that covers the sport and just kind of offers some more commentary. And I just want to ask you if I'm way out in left field with something I said, and maybe whether I am or I'm not, I'd like you to elaborate on it because you're such a smart guy, and you guys are killing it right now with this 4 coilover setup. On the Drivers Project, I was asked about, well, why is Tanner doing so well? And I was asked to provide a little bit on that. I said this, and I want to know what you think about the turn of phrase. Tires are how the race car talks to the racetrack. That's in dirt, pavement, road course, oval, anything. Your tires are how you talk to the racetrack. The suspension is the language that they're using, that they're speaking when they talk to the racetrack. You guys on the 88 are speaking a very different language to the racetrack, it seems like, than almost everybody else. Heck, everybody else in the pit area, because nobody else that I know of is running coilovers on all 4 corners. Tanner had that car built. I believe it's a Maxim, correct? Mm-hmm. He had that Maxim built with, you can't even put a torsion bar in the front or the rear end of that race car. So A, is the turn of phrase acceptable that the suspension is the language you're speaking? And B, how different of a language do you think you guys are talking to the dirt track right now with that car on 4 coilovers?
It's still a sprint car. It's still, it still has that wing. It still has the 900 horsepower engine. So it's different. It is different. I'm not going to tell you it's not, but it's still a sprint car. And, we think with the wing, I think there are some advantages. There could be an advantage or two of the coil suspension. I think there's a couple disadvantages to it. I don't think it's something that is necessary. Obviously, it's not. I mean, right now it looks like there's an advantage to it, but we got to keep this going for the whole year. We're realistic here. But the language, so we got the tires, and we think with the wing, and now we got to think with the tires, and the springs are the torsion bars for the other guys. And I like the way that I feel like the springs, I think one of the drawbacks, maybe this is not really answering the question you asked, but the torsion bar suspension is a little more forgiving. So that language is easier to speak when you have a torsion bar race car. Okay?
That's right. Yep.
When you have a coilover car, the window's a little tighter, and I don't know, it might not be, but it seems like it is. So we have to, like I said, we have to adjust a little bit more, but it does seem forgiving. The things I like about it, the language to me is actually easier. The car's more stable than the torsion car. It's held up higher than the torsion car, so we can do more with it. We can take more tilt out of the car. We can do things that you can't really do with the torsion. But is it as consistent? I think it can be. We just got to try to prove that and keep it there. So it's a challenge. We all have the same tires. So I hope I'm answering your question.
Yeah.
If I'm not, but our language is a little different than that torsion bar car. There's just no question about it. But in my mind, it's not as big a difference as one would think.
Yeah,
So,
no, that's exactly what I was hoping to hear. So yeah.
yeah, if you ran torsions all your life and now they throw coil springs on your car, you're gonna be a little confused. But when you've done both and you come back and you do both, it's just another sprint car. So, yep.
Definitely some interesting insight there. Stevie, before we let you go, it's been great talking to you. I know you got to get back to the golf cart and the dogs, of course, as well as some other things.
Well, not yet. Now hold on a minute.
Maybe the
Hold
business
on,
also,
Chase.
right?
It's not time yet. It's 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock,
So don't
okay.
even bother calling me at 4 o'clock. You have to call my daughter.
Okay, well, we'll remember that for future episodes. Don't call before 4 or after 4 o'clock, whatever it is. Stevie, you were in Vegas. Last question for me, and we'll let you go. Number one, did you have fun there? Number two, will we see you at another high limit racing event this year? If I had to guess, I would have to think it's Arrowhead, right? Because that one's pretty close, but will we see you at any more races this year?
Yeah, I think you will, especially if it's up to my daughter. But yes, I did have a lot of fun in Vegas. Like I was telling Tony, I couldn't even tell him how long ago. I think he figured it out because I couldn't do my math that high, how long it's been since I've been there. But it was rewarding. I enjoyed it. I got to see some of the other teams. And it's funny because the last time I've been to Vegas and the last time I've been in, until I started this business, I was always about our team. We wanted to beat all the other guys. Well, now that we're in business, we want all the cars to do good. We just want the 88 to finish in front of some of them. You see what I mean? But do I never wish another car a bad night? It's funny. I wanted to bring this up. We're actually cheering for all the cars because a lot of them run our parts. But at the same time, we want the 88 to finish in front of a couple of them. I don't know how else to do it, but it's always a good night because we're involved now from a whole different perspective than I was my whole career I was driving, as we want everyone to do good. So that's kind of a neat feeling. But yeah, to answer your question, I think I will get to another race or two. Probably not as many as Tanner wants, or probably not as many as I should be at. But like I said, I'm going to do the best I can for him from where I'm at here. And if we can get to a race, we're going to get to one to try and help. So
I got one more here for you, Stevie, and I know we're trying to get you back to work and
that's all right.
back to
Yep.
I got one more, and this one comes from a very invested viewer of the High Limit Room. She may or may not be your daughter. She wants to know what Stevie's thoughts are on Blakely racing. So is Blakely going to race? When will that happen? How long will she compete with High Limit? Basically tell us, what's the story on Blakely, your granddaughter, competing here soon?
All zeros. Okay, that's a question simple. No years competing, no years racing, no years driving. I don't want her to have nothing to do with this because I'm telling you what, this darn racing, I thought I retired from this, okay? I wanted to just work from the shop. I can't take another generation, and plus I don't really want my daughter in one of these darn sprint cars, or my granddaughter, or my daughter. I tell her the same thing, no. So I'm definitely not gonna say that for the granddaughter, but the answer is no, if it was up to me.
All right. Well, the audience was submitting those questions when they knew we'd have you on, so I had to work that in there. Thank you for your honesty.
You're welcome. No problem.
Well, there he is, Stevie Smith, National Sprint Car Hall of Famer, the owner, the proprietor of Smith Titanium, and the first Cometic Gasket Crew Chief of the Month award winner. Stevie, thanks again for jumping on here, man, and hopefully we'll see you again later this year at a racetrack soon.
Chase, you're welcome, Tony. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thanks, Stevie.
Welcome back to the High Limit Room as we are set to recap a couple of races that took place over the last week or so. Vado Speedway Park and the Route 66 Motor Speedway in Amarillo, Texas is what we'll be talking about here today, along with all bunch of other things that happened over the last week as well. The first thing that we will do, like we do every single week, is go over to Wikipedia. Brian Walker with the nxtbets.com/play HLR odds. Brian, we had Reitzel win at Vado and Tanner Thorson winning at Route 66. So I'd have to imagine it was going to be tough to get a big winner over this last week. But maybe if you had Chase Randall top 5 at Vado, that could have paid pretty good, right?
Yeah, Chase Randall top 5 was probably your best bet at making any good money. It was plus 1,000 at Vado. After that, your next best bet to really make money was Justin Peck to podium at Route 66. That was plus 500. The winners, they're 1-2 in points. They had the best odds this season. Reitzel was plus 480 at Vado. Thorson was plus 360 at Amarillo. Even better odds. The most impressive part of the week was, you continuing your unparalleled, unprecedented, historic, iconic, all-time unforgettable run of 10 straight Rodman. We're only 8 races into the season, and the Rodman risk has failed 10 times. I have a great graphic that I'm going to share with our producer, Tyler Burnett. I hope he gets it on the show. It's just a good image of what it looks like, I think, when you make your Rodman risk, because I just imagine it's your eyes closed and you're just throwing darts at a wall the way it's going for you. So
I know what this is going to look like.
Yeah, that's pretty good, Tony.
I haven't
Wait,
seen
it's a graphic? It's not just the picture of me?
Oh, no, it's not just the picture. I'm making you a very special graphic to highlight your prowess picking the sport you cover all year long.
And this should be good. I'm excited to see
a very
how that
special
turns out.
graphic for a very special boy.
Exactly.
Thank you.
It's like a birthday present.
That's what my mom always told me. Very special boy. Vado Speedway Park. We ran there on a Tuesday night, of course, in New Mexico, and it ended up being the highest car count for a 410 sprint car field in the history of that racetrack. At one point in time, it looked like we were going to maybe split the field and have 32 cars. A couple of guys, I think one had a family emergency, another one had a work emergency. They couldn't make it. Ended up with 29, 7 more than they've ever seen there before. And so very good stuff there. Of course, it was live on Fox Sports 1. Aaron Reitzel would end up going quick time overall, and that would kind of be, a little bit of a prediction, not a prediction. What's the word I'm looking for? A premonition, whatever you want to say, to him winning later on in the night. Heat 1, Cy Lynch won by like 3 seconds. Heat 2, great battle between Danny Sams and Justin Peck. Sams would win that. And Tyler Courtney would end up winning Heat 3. Brent Marks would win the Dash. Gage Polkerbeck won the B main. The Jace Golf Cart fastest lap, Aaron Reitzel. Racer Dean, rookie of the race, Tanner Holmes. And the hard charger and maybe the man that everybody had their eyes on late in the race, Ryan Timms. He went 10th to 3rd. And the top 5 in that one was Reitzel, Courtney, Timms, Marks, and Chase Randall, with Reitzel leading all 30 laps. But, Tony, that first lap of the race, Reitzel did not get a very good start and was actually behind 3 cars in turn 1. And by the time he finished that first lap, he was leading the race, got by 3 guys in 1 lap around Vado.
I thought Vado was great. It was racy almost all night long, and I think the common knock sometimes on wing sprint car racing, when I got into it, I had someone explain it to me as, you're probably either going to have good heats and not such a good feature, or not so good heats and a good feature. But I thought Vado, I thought Vado held up really well. Can you believe there were some people who didn't think it would be a good fit for the FS1 national television broadcast? I even heard some people saying, "What's a Vado?" Well, I think they found out on FS1 Tuesday night to a national television audience that Vado Speedway Park is a racy and exciting venue where lots of people came out to support that event. Huge car count for that area, and it was a lot of fun. I think it was a perfect way to kick off Interstate Batteries High Limit Racing's 6-night FS1 schedule. It was a great fit for that national television audience.
Yeah, Reitzel won by a pretty wide margin there, Brian. We had 1 red flag on the very first lap of the race for Austin Gossel. After that, it went green to checkered, and Reitzel won by a pretty healthy margin, but the race for second was very good. Tyler Courtney, Logan Seavey was up there in second for a while. Cy Lynch was up there, Brent Marks, and then, of course, Ryan Timms right at the end. Came up short of passing Sunshine for second. Reitzel, it was his race to lose, right? But the race for second was very, very good. And I just have to imagine, what could have been for some of those guys like a Sunshine or a Marks maybe if they committed to the top like Timms did late in the race, what they could have done, maybe track down Reitzel, because the top seemed like it was a lot faster than what maybe those guys were giving it credit for.
Yeah, I think Ryan Timms was proof of that. I was in the infield, and Brad Sweet was there, not racing. He was just kind of helping with the track prep all night long. And like he was watching the race, of course, but also had my race pass pulled up looking at times. And probably with like 5 to go or something, he freaking punches me on one of my arms, about knocks my phone over, and just like pointing right at Tim's, like, holy. So I mean, yeah, you could see just visually. I don't know when the camera cut to him on the broadcast, but you know, if you looked at the 10 car at the right point, he was light years faster than everyone he was going by, and it was awesome. I wish it was a. I don't want to say I wish it was a caution. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't wish it was a caution, but I think I wish that we could have had a 35 lapper and see what Tim's could do there. But you know, I also think you briefly mentioned it. One of the stories I talked to him after the race was Logan Seavey, just continuing to really shine in that boat car with Chad Boat. I mean, he ran 4 wing races this year, and he was honestly a decent threat in all of them. And you know, he's going to be with us at our next race, and it's going to be fun. I like Chad was really kind of pursuing somehow, some way, getting the car to Route 66, and just continuing to run as long as they could, but it didn't work out. But yeah, they're feeling pretty good right now.
Yeah, I would be too. A lot of top 10 runs. Probably should have been the top 10 every race, had that fuel problem in the feature at Central Arizona. But yeah, great race for second. And then a potential 5-star bodies move of the month contender was the battle for second between Seavey, Courtney, and Marks. I don't think I've ever seen 3 cars that close together, 3 wide off of turn 2, Tony. And Sunshine would come out on top in that battle. Maybe a little contact there with Marks coming off the inside. But that was a wild moment in that race. And the FS1 broadcast cut to it right towards the end of that entire sequence happening. That was a pretty exciting moment.
I mean, it was exciting once that race got green after the only stoppage of the race was for Austin Gossel's flip early. I think it was like, coming to the end of lap number 1, he got upside down. Man, after that, and those cars at the front got into traffic, whether it was a battle for position. I saw Aaron Reitzel going 3 wide, slicing through slower cars in front of him. So again, I know there was considerable doubt, and I'd only been to Vado once before, and I'll admit I wasn't really blown away by the racing, but that was in 2022 with the Outlaws. It was completely different weather, completely different track conditions. And yeah, there's sometimes a good bit of luck involved with getting the weather and everything lined up right. I thought Vado really did a good job for itself. And also when you show up with drivers as fast and as talented as High Limit has, it's going to help make things look really good. Reitzel was in a great place, and he talked about it in Whiskey Myers Victory Lane. And yeah, again, Brian, I just cannot stop thinking. I know we've talked a lot about Thorson this year, but man, how good has Logan Seavey looked? And yeah, there's plans, I know, to get him on the track with us more, and there's hopes to get him on the track with us a lot more than those plans already have laid out. Wow, what a coming out party, I guess, for Logan Seavey in wing racing. And again, kudos to Chad Boat. I mean, that guy can set up micros, midgets. I think they've done non-wing sprint car racing. I'm not positive, but man, whatever Chad Boat sets up, it runs real well. And Logan Seavey is just a damn driver. That was so much fun to watch this opening swing.
I just wanted to briefly back up what you said earlier in that point. I don't think any of us have been to Amarillo before, but I know we've all been to the first 3 tracks. I think every single track we've gone to this season, Las Vegas, Costa Grande, Vado, and Route 66, were like all the best racing services I've seen at any of them.
Yep.
And I wanted to mention this. I probably say it more on a broadcast, but you know, all of us spent time with the Outlaws, and this is maybe getting off track a little bit, but I felt like when I was with the Outlaws, and I'm not just saying this now that I'm a High Limit employee or whatever, but I just felt like when you were with the Outlaws, it wasn't like a super big priority to make sure that the racetrack is the best it possibly can be. When you have guys like Mike Hess and Brad Sweet there, 2 guys that ran races for their entire lives, they were championship winners, they were race winners, big race winners. They know that the on-track product is why everybody is there, and I feel like every single, like Brian just mentioned, Vegas, usually that track's not very good. 3 nights, perfect. Central Arizona, 100-degree temperatures every day, 3 great races. Vado hasn't had a great history of great surfaces, but it had a really good one on Tuesday. Route 66, nobody knows, and it ended up being pretty good. It was slick, it was wide. So that's one thing that I've noticed here with High Limit over the last 3 years is the attention to detail of the track is something that I feel like is very, very important, and that's what everybody comes to see is a good race, and we've had that every single night, a good surface for these guys to pass with. Now, did want to mention Rodney Huban. It was good to see him walk away from that wreck in the heat race, a big flip in his high limit debut, and also the 2-hour TV window. Brian, a lot of maybe like when we had that Rodney Huban wreck and that Austin Gossel wreck, we're like, oh boy, this could get close. But the drivers put it all together, and we ended the feature with, I want to say, 11 minutes to spare. Got to hear from the whole podium, had a little bit of a post-race show as well, Brian. And we are going to get this broadcast better and better every single time throughout these 6 races this year. But 2-hour TV window fit right in there for, 3 heats, a dash, a B, and a feature.
Yeah, it was perfect. You couldn't really ask for a better start to that little 6-race window we've got, and I think the next one is Eagle. Yep. We should have 4 heats there. It'll be interesting to see a bull ring, and they call it one badass racetrack. Carson Macedo might drop in based off Twitter. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, I think I think the East Coast times, or maybe the Central and the East Coast races, it sounds like we might be like 7:30 for our local time to start. So it'll be interesting to see how that time slot goes, and how many people keep tuning in. I'm glad you guys shared your graphic, your special announcers graphic. I'll have to keep those coming for the next one.
Yeah, maybe a different angle for Tony next time, I think. But
please, we could redo Media Day.
We can just do a whole new Media Day. We're just going to do everything again. But hey, let's jump into Route 66 now. I think we covered everything from Vado. But we'll give you a brief recap of who won the preliminary stuff. Kerry Madsen, new track record in qualifying by a pretty big margin. I think it was like 0.8 or 0.6 of a second. They broke the track record. Brent Marks would win Heat 1, Tanner Thorson Heat 2, and Justin Peck Heat 3. Thorson would win the dash. Reitzel, another Jace Golf Cart's fastest lap of the race. Kerry Madsen ended up being the hard charger and the rookie of the race with his best run of the year for Tanner Holmes. Thorson would lead all 30 laps in that one. But Tony, it was cold, it was windy, and it was maybe a little bit miserable for some of those fans out there with those weather conditions, but they came out, they stuck it out, and they saw a great duel for the lead between Thorson and Reitzel. Those two, it was like a seesaw battle, or whatever you want to say. They were catching each other, then they pull away, catch back up, lap traffic all over the place. So I got to give a hat tip to the fans for coming out there on a pretty cold night.
Yeah, the fan base was tough, that's for sure. And I thought for the popularity of this kind of racing in that part of the country, the size of the track, the size of the grandstands, hell, the size of Amarillo, Texas, I was very happy with the crowd as well. And yeah, people were bundled up to the teeth. I know you had a couple cups of hot chocolate up there in the booth and staying warm. So it was not the most comfortable weekend at the racetrack. That is for sure. And then, of course, everybody you talk to is like, it was just 100 degrees here yesterday. And you're like, that's not really helpful to us right now. Crazy high wind. I think John Carney even referenced that as being like part of the reason that he was caught up in that wreck early in the night on when was that, Friday. So I was blown away. Like Brian said, Amarillo, Texas, and Route 66 really impressed me. I loved that track, and as soon as we got there the day before to help set up, we all walked out to the track, and I just remember thinking like, yeah, this place, I don't know why, it just looked cool. We talked about it, Chase. You got a silver dollar feel from it. I got a smaller Attica kind of feel from it with the way the banking, just there was no fencing immediately at the top of the track and it just dropped off. I like that stuff. Tyler Courtney had a huge moment in the feature off of a restart, I think, over in 1 and 2. He went over the banking. He kept it on track. That could be a 5-star bodies move of the month, the fact that he kept it pointed in the right direction. I was really happy. I don't ever want to race somewhere that cold or windy again. And I also remember a lot of people thinking, oh man, when Aaron Reitzel got rolled as the Durst ice roller, oh, it was over. Yeah. It's over, man. Aaron's taking that money and giving it to the fan and him. But I said on the broadcast, you can go back and check it. Hey, don't just write off Tanner Thorson just yet. And I was happy to see that my going out on a limb, which wasn't really going out on a limb, proved to be correct. Thorson is dialed right now. And I know either just before this segment or just after we talk with Stevie Smith, and he provides a lot of great insight on why they're running as well as they are.
Yeah, they have been very good. Another thing that was pretty cool and pretty good at that race was a checkered flag at 8:35 p.m. And then, of course, they had the support class after the race, but the high limit portion done at 8:35 was pretty incredible. There were some other things that happened throughout the night. One of them, Brian, was the Kerry Madsen new track record, and then he would fall out of the top 6 in the heat race, and then it looked like they changed motors midway through, and they had to go 19th to 9th. To get another top 10 finish. And I'm looking at my overall stats here. Kerry Madsen, 6 top 10s in 8 races so far. He's been in the dash 5 times, and I think 2 or 3 more if you look at his stats with the Outlaws this year. Kerry has had the speed early in the night, had a tough heat race there at Route 66, but he's 6th in points. And I feel like they have the speed early. They just got to try and figure it out late in the late in the night. And I think that we'll see him in the top 5 here very, very soon, especially at a place like Lakeside where he's been very good in the past.
Yeah, which I think is what honestly everyone expected. I don't really think it's a surprise to many. Kerry and that car too have always been great qualifiers. I mean, Ty Wolfgang, crew chief, has been talking about it ever since Vegas. Really, that they just need to work on their racing package. That's it. And they're just taking it one night at a time. And for not being there yet, running back into the top 10 every night's a good backup option, right? Like that's how you perform well in point races. I think Brad Sweet and David Gravel talked about it for years. I mean, even when you have a bad night, it's just about salvaging it and running 8th, 7th, 8th, 9th like Kerry's doing right now is going to do that. And once they figure out how to break into the top 5 onto the podium, rattle off wins, that'll pay dividends later on.
Some other things that happened in that race, the crash between Rico Abreu and John Carney sent Carney into the wall upside down into the catch fence. Rico would run 12th for the second night in a row going back to Vado, so lost some points there for him. Top 5 in this race, Tanner Thorson, Aaron Reitzel, Justin Peck with his best finish of the year. Dason Persley could rebound after a tough couple nights at Central Arizona. And Tanner Holmes, his best run of the year with a top 5. Another guy with his best finish of the year was the other Race Routine Foundation Rookie of the Year contender, Tony. A 7th place run for Hank Davis, and I didn't get to talk to that team after the race, but I remember how pumped they were after the 11th they had at Central Arizona. I mean, those guys were over the moon about 11th place at Central Arizona. I can't imagine what they were like for 7th at Route 66. And I just think that they've got the speed in the feature. It's the opposite of Kerry Madsen. They need to get better at the beginning because in the feature, they're going forward. They have one of the best plus minuses in the series. A 7th place run for Hank Davis. I think there are some good things coming for him here soon.
Yeah, it's kind of like Tanner Thorson syndrome from last year, right? Where they just could not get the car qualified. They could not start the night the way they needed to. But man, I mean, how many hard chargers did Thorson get last year? It felt like a bunch. We were always talking about him, and good problem to have, right? But not so good of a problem because everybody talks about it these last couple of years. How important qualifying is in big time sprint car racing, especially wing sprint car racing, where I think passing's a bit more to premium. It's a little bit more difficult with turbulent air. And everybody's just so good right now. All the equipment is really top notch. These drivers are great. I love going over to the Dutcher Motorsports pit and talking to Hank Davis and his team. Those guys are they're just so excited to be on the road.
They are happy to be there.
They love it, right? And it's not that Tanner Holmes doesn't, but Tanner Holmes has been at this level, just not a full-time guy for a while now, right? And Sean Strasbaugh and Gabe Gerber and the Boot crew, this is old hat to them, but it's not that way to a non-wing sprint car team that is now going full-time wing sprint car racing with Michael Dutcher and Hank Davis and that whole crew. So yeah, great to see Hank run as well. He's always so positive, man. I go up to him every day in the pits. I'm like, what are you thinking, Hank? And he goes, man, I try not to do that. It gets me in trouble or I'm just happy to be here. He's always just ready to have a good night, right? It doesn't always go that way. And then I don't know if you hit on it or not, but another guy that had a really good night that definitely was in bad need of one, Chase Randall. Where did he finish? 5th at Vado, I think. And man, they really needed that. They have been in the blender since the season started, it seems like. So, yeah, really happy to see some of the younger guys have good showings after the first few nights got ironed out.
I just want to quickly hit that 3 of the top 7, which you guys pretty much all just talked about, had their season best run. And I think so much of that is that I think it was 13 of the high rollers had never been to Route 60. Route 66 before. So I love little nuggets like that when we go to places and it's just like nobody really knows what they're doing. So everybody's figuring out together. And it's cool. You see so many guys run their best.
And that's the thing. And sorry, I don't, we'll move on. But like, I know we race a lot at Port Royal this year, right? So like, I have to kind of change my stick here, but that is what is great about high limit racing is we go to new places real frequently. Yes, we're starting to get into some of those tracks that we've got really good relationships with. 3 nights at Kokomo, 8 nights at Port Royal. Yeah, we're starting to get some of those, staples of a national tour that you see. Okay, but Brad and Kyle, to your point you made earlier, Chase, about the track prep. This is what happens when you have a series that is run by racers. Track prep is a priority. A raceable track then is what comes out. And then a schedule where it's like, well, we're not just going to go to places where some of the field has 15 years of notes and good luck beating them because they're going to have it figured out from before engine heat, right? That is one of the things I love about high limit racing is we constantly are taking this show to new tracks, new towns, and what do you say, 13 guys might not have been on the track before at Amarillo. That's crazy, and look at how close it was all night. Kerry went backwards after he sets the track record in the heat race. He doesn't even make the dash. Now, it probably was an engine issue I think when it all came out. Rico went backwards in his heat race, and it's just a product of nobody has really anything figured out at some of these new tracks, and I love that about this series.
Yeah, great facility at Route 66 as well on the fan side. It was very, very nice. Nice grandstands, nice, snack bar. The booth was very nice as well.
Felt a little bit like Devil's Bowl from the outside.
Yeah, the grandstands were really, really nice. So we did not get a race set at Dodge City. Had a red flag warning there with super high winds scheduled. And so officials at this point in time looking for a rescheduled date at last check. So that was the racing that was on track since the last time we did a High Limit Room episode. Tanner Thorson with the point lead, 21 points over Aaron Reitzel. A tie for third, 60 points back both Rico and Gio Selzy. And Tyler Courtney, 75 points back in the fifth position. That is the points as we enter the next race at Lakeside, which is pretty far off from now, about 2 weeks or so, until we get back on the racetrack. Now, something new this year is the 5-Star Bodies Move of the Month, and every single month, the first High Limit Room episode, we are going to go through our 3 favorite 5-Star Bodies Move of the Month, and you guys, the fans, are going to vote on which one is the best. And then at the end of the year, we'll put them all together, and the fans will vote again. The best move of the month will get a free 5-star body for their sprint car. So we have 3 options here. There was quite a few to choose from, but we kind of narrowed it down to 3. And Brian, let's start with you. What was your 5-star bodies move of the month from March?
I will lead off with at the season opening event, Aaron Reitzel's ace in the hole in Heat 4, which I think practically it led him to the pole of the dash. He obviously went on, won the dash. It led to the track position heat in the A main. He led all 30 laps and won $21,000 that night. And I went back and watched the heat, and he actually had 2 different 3-wide moments in that heat race. The first one being lap 1 with Justin Peck and Danny Sams. He comes out on the good side of that. On lap 1, and he did get a little help with a caution or the red flag with Justin Peck and Hunter Schoenberg. And then on the last restart, though, him, Tyler Courtney, and Gio Selzy all have a moment going into turn 3, coming to the white flag. Reitzel comes out ahead, goes 4-1, gets the pole, wins the race. I think it had giant consequences for the rest of the night, and as close as points are with high limit, it could be giant consequences come October.
Yeah, the ace in the hole is obviously very rare, and Reitzel got one early in the night. I also want to mention, this is kind of narrowed down to just full-time high-limit guys. Ryan Timms had a couple of move-of-the-month possibilities, but he's not a full-time driver, so he wouldn't be at the banquet, of course, at the end of the year. My 5-star bodies move-of-the-month possibility, nomination, you could say, was Justin Peck at Route 66 Motor Speedway. Peck had not made a dash all year, had no dashes. Goes to Route 66, makes the late pass on Dason Persley to take the win on the final corner, was like 4 in the fluff around the outside. It was a really, really good move. He would go on to win the heat race. He'd make his first dash and lead to his best finish and first podium of the year with a 3rd place run. So I'm going to put Justin Peck. That is my nomination. Great last lap pass to get the win in the heat race and make his way into the dash. Brian? What happened?
I'm glad that was your nomination. I want to read you a text message from Dason Persley about that moment. The very next day, he said that all he could think about driving back the long way to the Bay Area was me and Anthony Carini never letting him forget that heat race, and it will be true. I cannot believe he let that happen.
Yeah, it was quite exciting. Yeah, and Dason, he's probably kicking himself a little bit after what happened there in that heat race. But, Tony, what is your nomination for the 5-Star Bodies Move of the Month?
Okay, so this was the wreck that brought out the red flag in the feature. So, yeah, John Carney and Rico get together and Crouch squeaks through. You got to stay alive in these races, and you got to finish up as high as you can to earn as many points every single night. And, I don't think anybody's picking Brenham Crouch right now to go win the Interstate Batteries High Limit Racing Championship, but he told me that his goal this season is to become that driver that teams look at and go, well, we could see paying this guy and hiring him to come race our car, and getting through accidents in front of you, keeping the car clean, and just being smart. That's a great way to do that. So wreck avoidance, staying clean, whatever you want to call it. I liked Brenham Crouch's move to get through the calamity up in front of him in Amarillo.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I mean, he got a little banana splitty there, as we say, between the two wrecked cars, and was able to avoid that incident. So let us know either in the comments, and then we're going to be putting some stuff out on Twitter and Facebook on the 5-Star Bodies nominations. You, the fans, will vote on them, and then that driver will win the 5-Star Bodies Move of the Month for March. We'll do that every single month throughout the rest of the year, and then one driver at the banquet will win a new 5-Star Body from 5-Star Bodies. So that is exciting, and guys, I think that is all I've got. Unless you've got some final thoughts you would like to leave the people with, I think that is where we're going to wrap things up with this podcast. Tony, it was great to hear from Stevie Smith. And Brian, you are almost as cool as Stevie Smith. It was great to hear from you as well. And we'll be back. What is the next race? April 17th, Friday, at Lakeside Speedway, then Saturday at Lucas Oil, and then 3 days later, it is Eagle Raceway in Nebraska on April 21st. Those are the next 3 High Limit shows. No racing upcoming this weekend for High Limit or the Outlaws. It's Easter weekend, so we hope each and every one of you enjoys your Easter. Go out there and find those eggs wherever they're hiding at. I know Tony will have his basket ready, and he'll be looking for the egg that has the most chocolate inside of it. So thanks for watching the High Limit Room this week. For Brian Walker and Tony Laporte, I'm Chase Rodman. We'll talk to you guys again here next week.